right? When we were kids, things,
Exactly.
we did no worries. We weren't crime, like we weren't thinking about any of that.
No, none of that.
And just showing that if we come together in a good place where we're rising our vibration, how much of an impact we really do have. We don't have to go and run around and protest per se. I know a lot of people feel like we have to take a stand, and I'm all for taking a stand and standing in your truth. But that how simple it is of coming together in a group, whether you're remote or not, how powerful in just being in a positive, loving intention that can change almost in an instant, that we could change that quickly. Welcome to the Conscious Broadcast. I'm Danielle Kane, and I'm really excited to have Nicole here with me for another episode. And today we are going to be talking a little bit about her upbringing in Utah with one of 4 children. And we're very excited to talk about how she went through her life, getting to the point of starting her own mass meditation. And she is by far one of my most favorite people because I started this journey of awakening and got on a Telegram, didn't really know much about it, and somehow landed on her own channel where I got to see all of her followers and just really kind of got blown away by her story. So I'm really excited to welcome her, and I'm going to switch views right now and welcome Nicole.
All right. Thank you so much.
How are you?
Thank you, Danielle. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be here with you. And as you know, I think you and I've talked for a long time now. We've been part of our own little community of trying to spread awareness and just positivity. And you are by far the best person that I know who's done that on a mass scale. So as you know, the broadcast is here just to share our stories, to share anything that might be able to help someone, whether it might be through a difficult time. I mean, I know in those places of really needing some support, it's really nice to be able to share with somebody else or to be able to relate. And I'm really glad that we can do that today. So thank you again. So let's start off with a little bit about your background, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
That sounds great. Thank you, Danielle. So I'm originally born and raised in Oregon on the coast a little bit. I am born in a Mormon family, so that's a little unique tidbit about me because I've had the challenge to just be my authentic self and really get to know who I am separate from what I was born into.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I pretty much have always known my whole life I was unique compared to my Mormon family. I also knew ever since I was a young child that I was gay and liked women. So that was another challenge for me and being with my family. So it definitely has been a journey of just being my authentic self, which I think has been really, obviously it's been great for me, but it's been always learning steps to learn more about myself. So throughout that journey, I have always been just really into numbers and patterns and geometries and just things like that. That experiment, Dr. Emoto, where he speaks of, he does 2 experiments. He speaks to water droplets and freezes them like snowflakes, and you see the geometries.
Yeah, I've seen those videos.
Yes, that video has really, same with the rice experiment where you're speaking love, hate, or abandonment to rice and seeing the growth and just our frequencies. That literally, those 2 experiments really it really activated my awakening in that there's something more grand out there on an intelligence scale, because it's literally everywhere. It's in nature. It just gets me so excited because this is something real.
That is so great. So you just loaded a whole bunch of stuff in there, because I think you not only that you're in a Mormon family, again, I'm not from Utah, but knowing movies that I've watched over the years and how strict the religion can be, and that in itself, and then sharing that you are in a relationship with a woman and has known for a long time, and then you're always unique. I mean, that's a lot of information right there
Yeah.
to uncover and unravel. And I would love that, because that bravery of yourself coming to being in your authentic self. So many people have yet to get there, or maybe they're in it right now, or they are on the other side, just like you, and they are truly living a beautiful life. And I think that's what we all want to come down to. I have a thought I want to bring up later about that, about, when we're kids, we always think that we can do anything. At one point, why do we start taking that away from ourselves? We take away this idea that we are abundant. There's no worries. We're just living in the now moment and having fun. And slowly we start to see the expectations come in, and, oh no, you can't be this, you can't be that. And I was thinking that today. I was thinking, wow, it just goes back to, like, we just have to kind of rewind back to who we were, right? And start from there. Like, if literally every adult started to rewind, right? Not literally rewind, but go back to, like, that time when we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And the sky was the limit. I think we would be in a better place, right?
I love that mentality. Yes, I love that space of just infiniteness and innocence. That's just so fun to be in that space, and I think we really need to reel that back in a little bit and just sit in that trust and that excitement of the possibilities, because
Yeah.
that's really the truth. Even now, we're just kind of stuck with these programs that are preventing that, but we are there if we want to be.
Right. And, like, so fast forward and rewind at the same time, because time doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
right.
We can be there, and we are there, right? So how growing up, tell me how it was for you. Like, how did you get through a lot of your time before you even shared, did you, how were you as a child to your parents, I guess, and to your other siblings?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I I've always had my mom tell me this ever since I was like even the age of like 2, barely walking, that I was always so intuitive. Like I would always see a need and want to help. Even as a little kid, I would ask my mom, can I carry my diaper bag? Like I was always wanting to help and
Oh,
like feel I just see a need and fill it. So I know throughout all of growing, I just really it's just very important for me to have everyone be happy and just have humanity as a whole. I feel like I was learning. Doesn't matter if it's my family, my friends, my events, my my athletics, things like that. I just want the best for everybody. Even it doesn't even matter the circumstance. I like always am voting for like the underdog kind of thing,
yeah.
because I just am always there for I don't know, I just can
You're
see
always
that
there
in
for the team. You're always there to help
yeah,
out.
exactly. So I like that the team idea too. So growing up, I actually did play a lot of sports, and being like in a team bond and just working as like a oneness, that really
Mhm.
kind of also kind of sparked my idea of how well we do as a team, or when we all are just doing one idea or one goal. And
Yeah.
so just being as helpful as I can. I know that I wasn't always the best kid with I don't know, being the black sheep in ways. I know that I
Yeah.
disappointed my family here and there, but it was through my challenges and learning that I was stepping into my authentic self, that they were just on the journey to watch, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
So
just, yeah.
that's beautiful. So in a way, like, because I know, sharing my side of relating to you, I always wanted to please my parents. So I kind of knew I was always different. I didn't really know. I would say, like, I was literally probably in dream state until about first grade. And
Mm,
then I got, like, pulled out of that reality quickly, and just remembering that I wanted to be close to my parents. I wanted to not disappoint. I didn't want to be reprimanded. So I would do whatever I had to do because I wanted their love. How would you say, with you wanting a helpful hand, would you say you came from that place, or were you just kind of like,
mm.
it just felt like good to be that person?
Yeah, I think that was already like subconsciously programmed within me.
Yeah.
I think that's something more so that as I'm older now, that I'm looking back on to see how I was as a kid, and like the things that were happening to me, even though I was acting just like everything was okay, even though traumas could have been going on, impacting me subconsciously, I
Mhm.
really just was just so happy-go-lucky all the time that I probably didn't even realize how much was really impacting me, which, I mean, pros and cons to that of being a I mean, it's a good thing, but unfortunately, others take advantage of that, I guess I should
Right.
say. So
Absolutely.
that's something I've learned to just be aware of how of your giving and your serving, that it's going
Mhm.
to an intentional positive place because you can definitely get taken advantage of. And that's a hard thing that I've learned with my attitude of just yay everybody all the time.
Well, yeah, and then when they think that you finally do like kind of put the boundary, they're like, "What's wrong with Nicole?" Or
Yeah.
what happened?" And then meanwhile, it's just like, "Hey, I'm recognizing that I've given too much, and there has to be an equal balance between giving and receiving." And
Hmm.
I can relate to that too. Like, I didn't realize some things that I had as a child, like where my father brought up, he's like, "Well, you were always so good. You were always so good." And I'm like, "Well, I think I was silent a lot," like meaning I knew that I couldn't step in or I would be put in my place kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I mean, these are pretty big discussions to talk about because
Absolutely.
they're not easy to talk about this. I love my parents. And I always I'm at a place where I know that they did the best they could. They really did. They loved me so much, but they were working full-time parents. And I'm grateful that they gave me a lot of freedom to be the free thinker that I am. And now that I come forward with like, I love critical thinking, they're like, what? I don't think they know what they created. They're like, who is this child? But I think it's really great that we can look back and be like, oh yeah, that was a trauma. That's why I was that way in the family dynamic. I was very quiet. I just, like I said, I didn't step the line because I knew it would happen if I did. So
Yeah.
how was your family dynamic being Mormon? Like,
Yeah.
what was the expectation of you and your siblings?
I definitely can agree with what you're saying in terms of just more complying than being able to have a voice,
Yeah.
which is something that I eventually have learned, honestly, more recently. So that's been, I feel like, a big challenge for me in this incarnation is finding my voice. And even though I've been authentic to myself, I, like you, I complied, I was silent because I knew what the possible repercussions could be.
Hmm.
So with that, when your question, with my siblings, I do have a little bit of an age gap, so I
Okay.
wasn't really too much growing up with them. My closest sister is 6 years older. My younger brother's 4 years younger. So we kind of had a sibling childhood, but it was all also, I feel like, just perfectly missing each other a
Okay.
little bit.
So there was one more, right? Too. So you have an
Yeah,
older
I have
sister.
an older sister, even older, 7 years older.
Oh wow. So that's a
So
lot.
7 and 6 older years, and then
So they
4.
were close together, your two sisters.
Yes, they're
Then it
they're
was
like a
you.
real tight. Mhm.
They're really close.
Yes, they are a year apart, basically, so they're like
Yeah.
sisters all growing up. And I wanted that, I kind of
Hmm.
looked after that. I didn't have that kind of I don't know, I
I
feel like
totally
I was
can
really
relate to you
alone on
because
a lot of that time. I did
yeah,
a
my
lot on
sister
my
and
own.
I were 6 years apart, and we didn't really have that bond, and we're closer now. Now that we're
Exactly.
older.
Same. Yes.
Yeah. And then how about your brother?
Yeah, my brother being a little younger, I can see it's the same position with me. He really wanted to hang out with me and my friends like I did with my sister and her older friends, but it was just like
Mhm.
this weird
You're
I don't
too
know, it's so
little,
hard to say.
like
Exactly, my little brother at that time, he's obviously not little now, but um, I don't know, he's just so sweet. We had a really good relationship. I
that's good.
I can't really say anything bad about that. So, in terms of with my parents and everything too, they just had a lot of expectations from the religious standpoint that all of my siblings were just, like, doing that they expected, and I definitely gave them a little bit of a challenge of just, "Why aren't you doing that like they're your siblings?" kinda thing.
Yeah.
So,
What
I
types
think
of
that was a
things, like
good
what would
thing.
be like a daily routine in the
Yeah.
Mormon family that wouldn't be like a normal, maybe Christian family
Mhm.
or
We had regular every morning before school would start, we would get together in the morning around our kitchen table and read scriptures together and just have like a little sharing around the table. We'd have a prayer together, just kind of set the tone for the day. And then
Mhm.
at night, we'd do the same thing. We'd have scripture study before bed, and then we'd all kneel on the ground and have a prayer together. And we did that 2 times a day, every day. And then in addition to that, with church itself, on Wednesdays, the church has like church functions where all the youth go on Wednesday nights and would have like a youth activity or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then Sundays is all day. Just I have a little PTSD with Sundays. So
Yeah.
Sundays it's we would wake up early for church, and it's a 3-hour church session where it's like three different meetings, each an hour long, which is so long for a kid.
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
where I
Yeah.
had so many questions and just really, I don't know, just in church, I would doze off a lot. My mind was questioning a lot of things. So it was kind of an interesting time for me. So after the 3 hours of church, though, there is no other things that can be done that's like in a kid's mind fun. So
Yeah.
like you can't play with your friends, you can't go outside, you can't like do
What?
anything, can't
Why?
watch movies, because Sunday was the day of rest, which what Jesus did was really serving and helping people and resting. So we couldn't do anything besides resting and being with our family.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally we would have dinner with another family, but that's pretty much as far as it went. Sunday was literally can't do anything. You can't listen to your music, can't watch a show, can't do anything but kind of
But
just
read the Bible? Did you, is that
yeah,
the
yeah, and the
expectation?
Book of Mormon.
That
And
was it.
just
That those were pretty
yeah,
much. And how long
we
did
would.
that last?
I mean, that's every Sunday until I finally got out of the house.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
So
um,
very strict, very rigid.
oh yes, Sundays. What's interesting now though with Sunday is I see it as a day of rest in a whole nother way.
Mm-hmm.
With I feel like when the week is done and I have worked and pretty much depleted all my energy, I am I use Sunday for a day of self-love and self-care in a different
Mm-hmm.
way of not so much boundaries and preventing and this and that, but so much like today is a day you reward yourself for the all the stuff you just did for the week. So maybe you're
Yeah.
not going to do everything that you always do, but it's not like there's rules and regulations where you feel like you're stunted in your growth kind of thing.
Well, and I
But
feel
you'll
like
do
it's
what feels
taken.
right.
Right. It's taken too far. It's taken, it's like almost like the context is misinterpreted.
Right.
Like rather
Absolutely.
than saying taking the day of rest to heal from within, to rest and recuperate from serving others,
Mm-hmm.
and the connection that you have with God. It's this, no one, they're not, there's no teaching of how do we connect from within? How do we
Mm-hmm.
truly rest and what is good for that? Maybe it's stretching. Maybe we go out and go
Yes.
to nature. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
so I feel that, while this idea of taking the day of rest and detaching from, TV or whatever is in theory a great idea, right? But it's just not connecting to the soul's purpose, like why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so
unfortunately, I don't think that the church had a good reason even to explain, especially as a kid, of why this is important or why we're doing it. We're just told we're doing this and we're doing it.
and you couldn't question it. And that's what you were saying. Like when you
Exactly.
had struggles with it, you couldn't even
Yes.
question it. And did at
Mhm.
one point, did you start questioning it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, nothing ever really resonated with me. I was just going along with it because I wanted to hang out the next day with my friends, kind of thing. So,
So you went, in
um,
order to get what you want, you're like, oh, I just got to do this. I got to be part of, I got to just listen.
I
And if,
complied.
did anyone ever like in the neighborhood, like, was the rebel like child
Not so
or,
much. Ironically enough, my two neighbors were also Mormon families. So
Mhm.
we lived similarly. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely, when it came to school, though, that is when we were definitely the different kids.
Okay.
And um, we just, me specifically, also being gay didn't help my case, but I would always be, the last one picked in the whatever, the class things. But
Now, would you say you weren't picked because well, give me an example. Like, is it
yeah,
more
so
athletics? Like, some people are like, I just
mhm,
wasn't like an athlete, so I was always the last one
yeah,
picked.
no, it
How were
could be for
you?
anything. So for instance, like even like a group study where you like are picking a group that you work
Yeah.
with or sports or whatever. I knew that I was going to be the last looked at and chosen just because I'm Mormon and I like girls. So who can relate to that?
Now,
You know
did
what I
they know
mean?
you liked girls in school?
Oh yeah, I was open at school since
Oh,
third
were
grade.
you really? But your
Yes.
parents had no idea.
When I came out, my mom said she had ideas, but
Okay.
nothing was like solid.
Yeah. And you
But
said you came out, I mean, we briefly talked before, you came out in third grade, you'd say?
that to yes, to school. Like that was I let the girl know in third grade that I had a crush on her and that didn't go over well. But I didn't know
Yeah.
that wasn't not normal. Like I
Yeah.
thought I was
That
just
just felt like
telling
natural.
how I felt. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So with my family, they found out when I was 18 getting out of high school because I wanted to live with my girlfriend in another place. So they had to know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So basically you being in your authentic self,
Yes.
God bless you for doing that, because that takes a
Thank
lot of
you.
bravery, even for people that might not even, like, for example, like myself. I don't think I had anything necessarily um unique up until now in my adult life that I knew that I really, really did not like the programming. And that I was very much not a part of the programming until I got in line in first grade, as far as the indoctrination of, the school and learning the curriculum the way that they want you to learn. So at that point, and then I've always been like, oh, it's just, people used to always call me my last name. Oh, it's just Castillo. I'm like, I don't know what that really means, but I guess like that's the way I do things. It's just different, right? And it's been like my whole life. And so you always, I did what I wanted to do for a while to be accepted. I was like always kind of like on the outskirts, and like, especially like elementary and middle school, I was definitely like kind of a loner. But then when I got to high school, I was just like, okay, I'm going to join every club. I got to do whatever I can do so I can actually go to college, because I literally felt like I'm going to need everything to help me to make it in life. Like I did. I got at that point in my life where I was terrified of the SATs in fifth grade. And it's like it's like this model of what the expectations are for children. I can't even imagine now what it is, because I'm pulled my kids out and they're doing Common Core math and they're doing all sorts of things backwards. Who knows if it was right then or if it's right now, but I can tell you it's confusing for a lot of people.
For sure. Yes, definitely can agree with that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's actually quite amazing to see how many children are coming already like online indigo rainbow children that have just
Yep.
like the answers already. um I don't even know, I feel like that's where we're heading and what we're going to see more of. But again, it's the parenting. We have to be so careful about the impression that we put
Yeah.
because of these parameters that society is programmed. So just
You
being aware of that one thing,
sure.
I feel like can free you.
And it's so hard being a parent that like if your kid's watching a TV show or a program,
Ah,
the programs run deep. Like they'll start
yeah,
saying something like whippersnapper. So it's like
yeah.
whippersnapper.
Honestly, supposedly kids now are speaking with British accents because of Peppa Pig. Like
Yeah, I mean,
this is
it's
actually
like
happening.
it is like almost like there's the subliminal high wire, like I want to call it like the high wire, because it's like almost like that type of language or whatever is within the program is like it knows to like latch on to
So true.
the brain in a certain way.
Yeah.
We are
Subconsciously.
technically somewhat like of an amazing machine, right?
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
obviously we're a moving, like living human
Mhm.
being, but we're very much programmable like
Yes, we're
any
just
kind of
not
computer.
computers. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's
and
interesting that I always like the sound healing and I believe that that's why I like doing these kind of conversations, because it's a rewiring
mhm,
of the program in
absolutely.
our systems. And
Mhm.
so we can read in all sorts of things, but something about our voice, our vibration, I feel like, and one reason why you like to do, I love your mass meditations, and we're going to get to that in just a few minutes too. But why it's so powerful. Well,
Yes.
thank you for sharing, your upbringing and your seriously your bravery all these years. As your friend, I'm really so grateful for you being who you are.
Thank you so
And
much. That means a lot.
yeah, and thank you for sharing it too. Um, so let's start off where how you even came into you obviously had this religious upbringing. How did meditating, how did you start tapping into
Mhm.
that realm?
Yep. So I kind of mentioned before that I really was into when I saw those experiments by Dr. Emoto that really activated something within that there's just an intelligence there that we can't visibly see, but that is
Hmm.
just like in everything in nature and everywhere. So when I heard that experiment, I was like full on, I'm like so excited to learn, and learning then became like my favorite thing. Anything that
Hmm.
I can pretty much get my hands on. So
Hmm.
I watched a lot of Gaia TV. I read a lot of just things on energy and frequencies. And I just really, I guess I was activated to become more aligned with this, becoming more of myself, I guess, and
Hmm.
stepping into who I am. And that's the
Hmm.
one thing that I was lacking in the religious upbringing
Mm.
is that real tangible thing. Because I need something tangible and
Yeah.
numbers and frequency and energy and patterns and things that are in life. That is everything.
So you talk
So
about these numbers and patterns and symbols, even as a young kid, that you were fascinated by it.
mhm,
What would you say? I mean, based on your experience, when you go and you journey, if you have a meditative journey, are you seeing symbols and patterns? Like, do you feel like
mm,
that's the way that you connect in
mm,
this space that we can't see? Or I shouldn't say can't see, because everybody's experience is different. But some people can hear. I mean, I guess
mhm,
you're
right.
clairaudience, clairvoyance. Would you say you're more of connect with symbols and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely have always just seen the like for instance, this shape right here,
Yeah.
Megatron's cube, like these shapes, I ever since I was little, I just see them in nature. Like
Mm.
looking at a thing of trees, I can just see fractals. Like
Mm.
all I see is just like this fractals everywhere. So I've always just seen it, but also I think that I receive my messages in my meditations and how it's a more the feeling. Like that's the intuition, it's the feeling. I don't hear things. I don't really like see visions, but it's like patterns and feelings.
Yeah.
It's kind
Yes.
of hard to
I think I
explain.
can totally relate to you. I definitely I'm definitely, what is it, clairescence, I guess, where you can like have a knowing.
I think so. Yes.
Um it's okay about your dogs. I saw your face, like, the dogs. We love them. They can be part of this journey. I found, like, when I had my awakening, in the sense of, it was gradual, but it was definitely at one moment I was like, whoa, that's what that is. Like, that was my inner guidance communicating with me pretty much my whole life. And I just never really knew how strong it could be when I really needed it. So, and in hypnosis, I saw a lot of symbolism, not necessarily, well, I did see some geometry, but yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, we definitely correlate on that the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely then have learned throughout the journey to know and trust what my intuition or my inner voice, my higher self, what that is compared to my ego voice.
Mm.
And that has been something that I've had to differentiate. And once I've like really was able to associate the feeling and the voice, just like it's like an aha moment. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Instead
Yeah.
of like this back and forth of the ego, like the devil and the angel on the shoulder.
Yeah. Now, give
But
me a little example of what the ego would sound like, and what the higher
okay,
self and
yeah,
intuitive voice would sound like.
for sure. So an example just came to me. I had a specific example when I was driving, and was I like looked down for a second, and I had the feeling of look back up. Like it was my heart literally like tingled. And so I
Mm.
like looked back up and I just barely avoided hitting like a little embankment thing. And
Okay.
so it was honestly one of the very first times that I was like, that voice like literally told me. And so
Yes.
moving forward, the ego voice compared, it's so flip floppy. It's like, you want to do this. It's like questioning. It's like
Mm.
it's like enticing you kind of a
Yes.
way. It's like, you want to do that? You think you might want to do that kind of thing
Yeah.
instead of like, you're doing it. Wake up. It's kind of like aha
Yes,
versus
it's like very firm. And you know, I
yeah,
love that you shared that because this could let me tie in a little bit about the work that I've done in hypnosis,
yes.
which I do a very specific technique. There's tons of techniques. All of them I think are so beneficial. But quantum healing hypnosis, when we're working with a subject or a client or however you want to present it, because I like to say subject because when the person is in that theta state, how you identify who you're speaking with. If you're
Mhm.
speaking with Heather, or you're speaking with Nicole, or you might be speaking with whomever, you can start to identify when it's their consciousness or their higher consciousness or their subconscious. And it's always that the person is speaking in third person when it's not them. So if they're there and they're saying, I don't know, I'm not quite sure, and they're second guessing, and it's just kind of like, I think it's this or I think it's that. That's when you know that I'm
Mhm.
speaking with Nicole. I'm speaking with her, with her consciousness. But as soon as it's an immediate knowing, that's the
Mhm.
higher self. So
Yes,
that's it. Yes.
I love that.
And we work in a great way to redirect because you can work with both. And most people that I've worked with are in that place where both I call it like a team. It's like a team. We're all on a team and we all have a role to play. And it's
Mhm.
okay that you're there, but we're also going to let, Nicole's higher self come in and we're going to share how the session's going to go. So that's kind of how I work with it. And that's how we can do within our daily lives. Okay, we can let the ego have its feeling and have its thought, but
Mhm.
we're also going to allow something that we already have a knowing to also give us some guidance here.
Mhm.
And I think that could be helpful for anybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The more familiar you get with that voice and get to know yourself, really, I mean, that's essentially what's going to guide the ship at that point. And
Yeah.
so then you can just like trust, and trust is literally everything. Once you get rid of that fear, you can
Yeah.
just live your life without those programs holding you back from your highest potential.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love that scenario that you said about like the devil and the angel.
It kind of
Um,
is.
yeah, it really is. And I've had many people kind of relate to their voices that they hear kind of like that. And I'm
Mhm.
like,
Oh,
it's so I appreciate making that kind of interpretation of, where you've gone into your spiritual awakening and what you do as far as the
mhm.
mass meditation. So let's go
Yeah.
into, you were so intrigued with this you were talking about the individual. What was his name?
Dr. Emoto's experiments.
Him, and then Corey Good.
Corey
We haven't
Gibbs.
talked about
Yes.
Corey Good, but you had
Yeah.
told me a little bit about going
Mhm.
to his mass meditation in DC, but it was like remotely, correct?
Yes, correct.
So let's talk about him because that was really the turning point where you started your channel, right?
Absolutely. Yes. For me, I was going through a period of my life where I just knew I needed to do something more. Like there was like this void that I needed to fill because I have all this information, but what do I do with it kind of thing. And I just like, I don't know, I felt very stuck at this period of my life. It was probably about like 7 years ago or so. And so saw that Gaia TV or Gaia advertisements constantly on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and
Mm.
Instagram, wherever, everywhere. And so finally, on like the millionth time of seeing it, I decided
Like,
to join.
I'll join now. I love
It's like,
Gaia. I'm on
okay,
Gaia
here I am.
too.
Yeah, it's great. So I got introduced to many new people with new perspectives and just like different topics and just subjects that you don't even realize are subjects that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of open up even more. So one of the channels being I actually can't remember the channel, but Corey Good spoke on it with
Mm-hmm.
David Wilcock at the time. And he was saying that he was going to be guiding a mass meditation during this Closure Fest, which was taking place in Washington, D.C. This was in
Mm-hmm.
2016. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 6 years ago now. Wow. Okay. So it was a live stream event for those who couldn't attend. So it was on YouTube. I logged in, pulled it up in the
Mm-hmm.
live stream, and just it just was like an aerial view of like the whole area, and there was like thousands of people there. There was a stage, and then whenever someone would speak, they would like zoom into the speaker, but sometimes they'd zoom out and you just see the togetherness of all these people. And you
Yeah.
could feel that, just the
The
intention of
power.
positivity and loving, yes,
Yeah.
through the over online.
Overwhelming, like loving
Yes,
energy. I mean, it had an impact on you. Like you
absolutely.
almost like felt probably so present with everybody.
I immediately just like felt like crying because I was like, we're together in a oneness space. So this is like everything that I had been just like needing the answer for. Like I felt like my
Hmm.
void was finally filled because I knew teamwork and oneness was huge from, my past and stuff. And I knew that
Hmm.
there was something greater there that we need to connect to with each other, but not so structured. Like I
Yeah.
don't know how
Or
to
not
explain.
like when you see a ton of people like that, it's usually like at like a stadium, like at a sporting event. It's
Right.
not, and
Totally.
and again, it's for something that's not for us. It's
Yes.
entertainment. It's not,
Exactly.
really looking at how much we can impact the entire
Mhm.
world's consciousness just
Oh
by
my God.
being together.
Exactly. Yes. And seeing this many people that are taking their time to work on themselves and feeling probably the same thing I was, just overwhelmed with how many people were in that same space and
Yeah.
really understanding and knowing that definitely not alone in this, which was a
Yeah.
huge piece for me. It's just like everybody coming together and sharing, and I'm not alone. Like that was everything to me.
Yeah.
So the meditation itself, when Corey Good guided the mass meditation, it was just constant, just like feelings of just like waves of love and emotion. I was just like bawling. I just
Hmm.
felt everybody. I really have no other way to explain that, but I was just one with everybody. The
Yeah.
meditation was just so profound. I really felt like I had my first experience of getting out of my body and being able to just let my consciousness be. And
Yeah.
so that feeling, I was just like, wow, what the heck was this kind of thing? And why are we not doing this more?
Hmm.
So, I started to then do a little more research on what mass meditation is and like what are the benefits, and came across the Maharishi effect, where they did in the 70s a research experiment where they had, I sorry, I can't remember how many people meditating, but the correlation was the meditation of one, um, what is it? One person can equivalent to 16% drop in crime, literally.
Wow.
So the fact that you can get hundreds of people together and drop crime by a massive amount of percentage while you're increasing positivity and love and just less fear and trust. Like
Yeah.
these, so then realizing what are feelings and emotions, oh, they're
Hmm.
frequencies, go figure.
Hmm. Hmm.
So all of this understanding was just like to me, like,
Yes. That's
how
pretty
is this
big.
not right?
Right.
That's
And
what
it
I was
goes back to
thinking.
like the first thing we said, right? When we were kids, things we
Exactly.
didn't, no worries. We weren't crime, like we weren't thinking about any of
Exactly.
that.
No, none of that.
And just showing that if we come together in a good place where we're rising our vibration, how much of an impact we really do have. We don't have to
Mhm.
go and run around and protest per se. I know a lot
Right.
of people feel like we have to take a stand, and I'm all for taking a
Yeah.
stand and standing in your truth. But that how simple it is of coming together in a group, whether you're remote or not, how
Mhm.
powerful in just being in a positive, loving intention that can
Mhm.
change almost in an instant, that we could change that
Absolutely.
quickly.
Yes, I literally felt like a new person for the year.
Wow.
Like, I felt
You're giving me
upgraded.
the chills because I'm just thinking about like when we do this, like you just don't
I
think we think
know.
so much. We don't think that we have that much of an impact on every day. Like, oh, who am I? I mean, my whole life, like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to help? And this is where this broadcast came from. This was like a higher intuitive intention to start getting together with my friends because we're all in this together because
Mhm.
this is what we need to do. It's just going to divinely be whatever it is. It's going to
Exactly.
raise and raise the vibration of of other friends, and get us to take away from those things that no longer service us.
Exactly. And like you were saying earlier, when we have these conversations, like me being able to speak freely like this, like I know I think these things, but when you actually are able to express it and let
Yeah.
your throat chakra open and really step into that, you're speaking your truth. You're not just
Mhm.
like thinking your truth, but speaking your truth takes that next step where you literally make it your reality. So me
Yes.
being able to say these things to you that I've been thinking, it makes me it solidifies even more so what I'm doing is true and right, which
Yeah.
is the feeling of, I don't know, it's just everything.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, you're so amazing, Nicole. I can't
Thank
even
you so
tell
much.
you like
I appreciate that.
how magical it is too, because like how many people are on your channel?
Yeah, well, I have a few different platforms. I started on Facebook and I have a little over 2,400 people on Facebook. Telegram started
Amazing.
this year. We fluctuate around 900. We have about 500. And actually, my YouTube today, I just hit my 1,000 subscribers.
That's
So we are
amazing.
growing in 1 year with that, really. Just
One
like
year?
my YouTube, my Telegram, and we were all this year. Facebook has been about 4 years now.
That's amazing. And
So that is
so
another
look
thing.
at little old me. Little old
Yeah,
me
go.
is now your soul sister, best friend
Yes.
out of thousands of people. I mean, I'm honored. Literally, I'm honored because you spoke, because you did. Like you said, you spoke truth. But even in your channel on Telegram, which I'm a Facebook person, I've been on Facebook for years for my business. I'm
Yeah.
not necessarily there, you know, as much to, I guess, get the content that I get from Telegram that I find really beneficial.
Mhm.
But the fact that I could have found you and made such a deep connection with you, it just shows this is so powerful for anybody,
Mhm.
to find their tribe, to find where
Mhm.
they feel they can be the most authentic that they can be. We're all
Mhm.
in this journey, but what better way, to find each other? And I
Mhm.
can't wait to meet you in person.
I cannot wait. I am seriously so thankful for for you making our connections, I just seriously doing what you feel and being authentic is when you find these connections. So
Yes.
you kind of do have to do the work a little bit, or at least trust yourself, and you will find those connections. I mean,
Yeah.
we are living proof of that. We have like a
Yes.
great community collaborations. I mean,
Yes. And
that's the
now it's all
goal. That's
coming
the mission.
together. Even today, you're like,
Exactly.
yeah, we're just gonna chit chat. I'm like, okay, let's just do it.
I know, and
Totally
now my
unscripted.
energy and vibe is so much higher. So
Oh,
thank
and
you.
it had to be unscripted. It's just the way that it goes. Even though I have like I have I wrote out your like biography because that's what I do. One thing that you and I talked about before we started recording was trauma. And I just want to briefly touch base on this and then we'll wrap up. And it's 222 over here. Just had to put it out there.
Yeah,
um,
that's good.
is it still considered trauma, even though it's not something that you may be struggling with? So I loved that. Did you want to hit on that? And then I want to hit on that too, because it does have to do with
Yeah.
meditation.
Yes, definitely. So this did come up in a conversation that Danielle and I were just speaking of. Um, because some things can happen to us as children, but you don't really know if it makes an impact on you or not, especially as you're growing, until you're older, when you're reflecting back and you think back to these times, whether it had a negative impact on you that you've been carrying around, or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's something that's been stunting you from being yourself. This is something that I have personally had a question with, just because I'm not sure how much of this upbringing in the religious Mormon church still like has on me, even though I don't feel like it's attached to me. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if it's subconsciously still running programs that I'm not still stepping into. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a really good question, and that a lot of people struggle and deal with their question.
How I can relate to this, because I don't have that answer as far as when does it completely leave us? Is it with us forever? Is it just part of the experience, and it's just what God wants us to go through, right? To have these
Mhm.
experiences, to understand what it
Yeah.
is to be in this 3D reality, and as it
Hmm.
maybe even transitions into other frequencies and other dimensions. But I can directly connect with that in my own experience. I did a sound meditation on Monday, and I was feeling a lot of discomfort in my like sacral and solar plexus, like uncomfortable. I'm like, as soon as we got into it, I was like, "Ooh, I kind of feel a little nauseous. I'm not quite sure, a little just unsettled." And so I just started allowing myself to do a little bit of self Reiki. Believe it or not, I just was just putting good intentions and trying to figure out what this was. And it turns out like the whole room was having stuff too. No one really shared, but I think, you know, the woman that was doing the sound healing was like, I think we're all taking on some solar plexus sacral issues. And then I realized that 6 years to that month, because I don't know the specific day, I was pregnant with my son, who's now 5. So I should say, no, not 6 years. Yeah, like I said, almost 6 years, because he's 5 and it was before he was born. And I remember, so it was a memory that I was still holding on to. And the memory was I say some trauma. There was an argument between my husband and I, and I remember really trying to speak. So my intuition was very heightened at that time. And we had an argument, and I just remember being pregnant and feeling like I got to do everything right now for my son to not carry any of this on. And it was that memory that I'm like, it's still in the cells. It's still in my cells. Now I'm not holding on any of that pain at all, but I still, it's still a memory, and it's still part of me. And it was literally in December that it happened 6 years ago. And here we are doing a sound meditation in December. And it might have even been a Monday. Who knows? I don't know. But I felt like it's still deep within ourselves. And so now recognizing and allowing myself to release it, I said, I don't know. Even though it might be a trauma, I don't have to carry it. I don't have to carry that load anymore. I can let it be whatever it is to service me. And I recognized it, and I thanked it and said it, you know, and then I started feeling better. I didn't have that pain or discomfort down there anymore by the end of the sound healing.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that story. And
Yeah.
I want to tag onto that.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, I mean, with the memory being stored in our cells, I also think that throughout our lives, since time isn't linear and it's you know, it's infinite, it's everywhere all the time, we could go through times where we could be healed from it, but then we could be in a situation that links with that timeline that brings it up. So you may or may not, like you had it 6 years ago, you probably didn't notice, but I think in different situations when the timelines more align and you're in a different space, that these things can come up, which gives you the opportunity to heal, which is absolutely beautiful in this wholesome way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even like in the dream state, because we really don't know if what dreams really are. I mean, we have a lot of specialists, and I'm starting to come in just in my own way. I watched a Gaia program. It was with Regina Meredith, and I don't know who she was interviewing, but some dream specialist. And she goes, dreams are a great opportunity to play out a reality of something that could be bad, and having the choice so that when you come back to this reality to choose differently. And I love that, because it's like, okay, I could be the criminal over here and make the really bad choice up here, and then be like, oh, I didn't like that outcome, and then come back here and do it. You know, I mean, it's just a different way of thinking of bad dreams or whatever it is, you know. And you were so gracious, even for like when you have a situation. I really do try to look at this the best way I can, is no situation is good or bad. It's an opportunity to experience, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's not a favorable experience. And sometimes it's a wonder. That's why we have happiness. That's why we have sadness. That's why we have excitement. That's why we have dread. You know, your experience being in a Mormon family was for a reason, right? And look, you've come out to this beautiful person. Yes, we with experiences that maybe weren't so favorable, but I feel like you're still living the life that you want to live, and you're not a prisoner of your past. Would you say? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely. No, that's exactly. I mean, I am just living your authentic self is everything. And just that subconscious voice, that the devil and the angel, you know, just like trusting and going with that. I mean, you find your voice. But with that, let me say that I did not have my voice for a while. When I started my meditations, the first year, I knew I wanted to do regular mass meditation. So every month on the 11th is when I wanted them, but I did not feel ready for my voice yet. Like I was not the one to guide the meditations for the first year. So I spent a lot of time and energy going out and trying to search for others that have done it or have experience every month. And that was actually a lot of energy and time for me, trying to find someone that I could trust and bring in authentic, pure information, etc. So it actually wasn't until this year that I ripped the Band-Aid off and have been doing it myself, and I have never felt so like this is
Ah,
what I needed to step into. And I've known that, but I just had that fear, and I'm sure that it was just like the fear from all the programs that I had that I finally was able to
break free.
I was able to break free and just not let that fear. It was mainly what's the worst that can happen? No one's gonna
Right.
a couple
That's
people
what it,
listen to the fear,
there's
like
only two
what's the
things,
worst?
love and fear.
Exactly.
And one's, it doesn't matter because it's
Mhm.
exactly perfect and divine,
Yeah,
just the way that it is. And
exactly.
I want to, before we wrap up, you to tell people where they can um, come to your channels. Maybe you can even send some information, but you have to experience Nicole's mass meditation. She will take you on a journey that is so beautiful. And she has a gift, and I'm so thankful that you are sharing it with the world. So
Thank you so much. I definitely have stepped into that and it feels amazing. So
that's great.
also I just want to say to everyone else that there right now, especially in this time, we are going through a crazy shift. And so you
Mm.
are going to be feeling these uncertain feelings of who am I? What am I trying to do? What is my goal? And so everybody going through this, you are not alone. And the more you just keep doing the work. And what we mean by saying doing the work is when you say, like, is this something that I want to do? You need to feel that, like sit with
Mm-hmm.
it. Doing
Mm-hmm.
and physically going is the opposite of how you get there.
Right.
So being able to just like sit with your feelings and like you're saying, it's almost like a dream state you can go in where you play out these realities or
Mm.
situations that you see yourself in. Do you does it play out the way that you're designed or is it going to be a little different? But you need to sit with yourself. You need to sit with these thoughts. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot have self-realization without being in a space of just yourself. And we are just so programmed to not be by ourselves. And I
Yes.
think really sitting with myself and um, reading and learning about the akashic records, which also ties in with like the dream state, you can
Yes.
choose and see your life going different ways and decide whether or not that's something that is you.
Yeah.
You can
And
even
is the Akashic Records the dream? Like, is dream
ooh,
going into
yes.
the Akashic Records?
It absolutely is.
I definitely think it
That's the
is.
storage center.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
even past traumas, that's how you're
Yeah.
gonna go in there. You go into
Yeah.
yourself. You reimagine these things and these experiences, but you think it the story that you want. You put the story that you deserve and you just let it play out. And you literally restructure in the library to come down into your
Mm-hmm.
consciousness because it's
Mm-hmm.
connected with all these shapes and these lights and information. It's all information.
Yeah.
But you gotta sit with yourself and then you'll have the answers because they're all in there. And you can even change your past answers that you're stuck on. That sounds
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but it literally is all infinite. There's no time.
Yep. Yep.
That that
Amazing.
saved my life realizing that.
That's great. Thank you so much for that advice too, because
Yeah.
I think I definitely know there was some individuals that literally, like I've talked to and like, what is my purpose? Like they're definitely
Mhm.
like being presented with that and in an angst way. So I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
that will resonate
Same
with a
thing.
lot of people. And it's okay even if you're like, I never even thought about what my purpose is. It could be
Mhm.
just showing up, for,
Exactly.
and it'll come, you'll know what to do if you sit
Yes,
with it
exactly.
and you really take the time to do the work. And I think a lot of people don't want to face the trauma because it's almost like they feel like they actually physically have to go through it again. You don't. You can be an observer of it. But
Mhm.
you're observing it.
Yeah.
And maybe if you need to be there in support and have people there to support you while you go
Mhm.
through the dark night of the soul or go and experience those feelings again. But once you allow yourself to let it go, you will be so much better for it. You no
Mhm.
longer have to feel like you have to give your power away to
Right.
feel whole. You are now
Mhm.
bringing it all back in, and
Yes.
and and it's through this beautiful place that we're all here. We're all here to serve a purpose for each other. There is no good guy, bad guy. We're all here to play a role
Mhm.
to help ourselves get to that next place, that next journey, or even if it's just a brief experience, just to experience.
Yep. You can
Yeah.
see why you went through it. for the growth.
Yeah, exactly. Goes in the Akashic Records.
Okay, exactly.
That's right. So Nicole, tell us really quick where we can find you. If you
Yeah.
want to share some of the channels that you have, YouTube, the most, whatever one you want, we'll maybe even post it up at the end.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so my mass meditations happen on the 11th of every month. So we actually have one on Sunday. And I live stream that. It's going to be live streamed on Telegram and Awakening Mass Meditations group, or Awakening Mass Meditations on Facebook and YouTube, Awakening Mass Meditations. I'll have my live stream there for the mass meditation on the 11th. So those platforms are the best to find me and participate in the live streams. The one on Sunday is going to take place at 1:11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 3:11 Eastern Time, and 8:11 General Mountain Time.
All right.
That's the toughest thing, is the time zones. But,
yes, especially when you're trying to tap into to everybody.
To everyone, exactly. I mean, the time is the most illusion when you think about that, because we're all in the same spot. So how are we night and day? So yeah, please join. And we have the intention for this week, for this month, sorry, to raise our Kundalini energy and just understanding ascension. It's kind of ties in a little bit with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
we have a journey prepared for humanity to heal and raise love and intention and positivity, and that is the goal. So thank you for having me on and letting me share. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you appreciated the episode. And again, please feel free to reach out if you're interested, and maybe we'll have you on future shows as well. Thanks, and have a wonderful day, and the new year that we're going to be approaching very soon.